It's time for Push to Play, your weekly trophy podcast and all things PlayStation with CJ and Unknown.
All right, welcome everyone to episode 8 of Push to Plat, aka the CJ doesn't want to do any work this week, so he's having us pre-record things. So welcome my guest Pelzio again.
Hey.
And also CJ.
Is it my time to speak now?
No.
Yes. Thank you for not interrupting my intro this week. So this week, I was talking CJ. But anyways, all right. So this week we're gonna have like a combo, kind of two things stuck together. We're gonna talk right now about some games we played this year, going all the way back to the beginning of the year and what we enjoyed and stuff. And then we're gonna concatenate onto this part the interview with Mind talking about guides. So, without further ado.
Just before we start that Unknown,
What?
I know, I didn't want to interrupt because you were doing such a wonderful job of introducing
I
me,
improved over my,
you have
what is actually
a week.
2 hours ago.
Oh, I thought you were going to be honest. Okay. No, you have. I thought we could have a quick question though as well that I found. If you'll indulge me with that. Is it?
Wow, you found this in 5 minutes.
Well,
All right, what's the question?
We've had a whole week since the last episode, so I've had plenty of time to find it. If you're okay, the question is, here we go. If your 5-year-old self suddenly found themselves inhabiting your current body, what would your 5-year-old self do first?
Cry.
It's very truthful.
What kind of question is this? Like,
You don't like it? Well, come on. Okay,
I don't even know what I'm supposed to be thinking now.
Well, that's the whole point of it. It puts you on the spot.
How do you answer that?
Look, I tell you what. Well, cry. Come on. Well,
all right, give us an example, CJ.
Let me go.
So I
first.
have at least something to go off of.
The questions are going to become more and more random every week, I feel. So what would my 5-year-old self do? Well, I think the first thing my 5-year-old self do would congratulate myself on still buying Lego. I think I'd be very impressed at knowing if I was 5 that at my age, which I don't need to say now, I still collect Lego. So I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, I thought you meant physically, like in your physical body.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, well, you can do that if you want. I think
that's what you said.
I just read the question. I didn't
body, and that makes me think.
I'm interpreting it the way I wish. I think the Lego would be pretty cool. I think the first thing I would want to do is drive a car because I always wanted to do that when I was a kid. So I think that would be awesome to be able to drive a car. So I think they're the two things. I would congratulate myself on still buying Lego because it's awesome, and then I would drive the car. And possibly because I have the mind of a 5-year-old, I would be playing with Lego while I'm driving the car. That would be exciting.
Also, because you don't know how to drive a car yet, you'd probably crash.
That's true. Yeah, I'd probably never get out of the driveway. Who knows? So Pelzio's sitting in the corner crying. What are you doing, Ando?
I don't know. I still feel like I want to answer this as some physical thing that I can do now that I'm like taller or whatever.
Yeah. So Pelzio, would you do anything else after you grab some tissues?
I'll see Kingdom Hearts 3 on the floor, and then I'll think I'm dreaming.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'll just shove it right into the PS4 immediately. See, I already completed it, and be sad.
Yeah, that's right. Imagine what your 5-year-old mind would think of the PS4. From back then, you wouldn't have been able to fathom something like the PS4. I think
I think I would be like my 5-year-old mind would probably be more mind blown by the Switch, just like how good looking that. Because obviously, it's 5-year-old, I'd be like PS2, and the Switch compared to the PS2, like there's a gap there of like how just handheld hardware has came.
So do you have a reasoned answer for us now, Unknown, or are you?
I feel like I would just be like I don't know. I feel like if if it was like that instant, I would just have some like my mind couldn't handle it or something. It would just be like I just like I don't know, like everything going that fast. Because when you go through life, you just like slowly transition things usually for the most part, and it's just like you just be like it's kind of like culture shock, but it's like life shock, and you just be like you just like wouldn't be able to handle it.
I imagine Unknown's 5-year-old self would just like go on his PS4, look at his library, and be like, "Why am I playing this trash now? Like, what happened to me?"
Yeah, probably.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. What I like about you, Unknown, is your answers are always very reasoned. You're a very practical person. I think it's great. You know, I mean, your first thought is the difficulty of moving from 5 to your current age. That's great. It's good. It's practical. We need far more.
Well, thank you, CJ.
We need far more practical.
Appreciate the compliment.
Of course, we need far more practical people in the world, and far less sort of dreamer, creative, whatever people. I suppose that just they come up with these random questions and see what happens. But yeah, that's good. I like it. So please carry on. What are we doing today? What's next?
We can talk about games we played.
Perfect.
This year that we really enjoyed a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to start us off?
Well, I did say Pelzio, but I could go.
Oh, sorry.
How are we doing this? Are we like just doing all of ours at once? Or are we like going back and forth? Let's go back and forth.
Okay. Good. Let's reattach the wheels to the show and move forward by going back and forth. So, Pelzio, is it going first? Is that what you want?
Yeah, I could go first. You know what? Let's just get the obvious one out of the way. Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yes.
I think I've talked about that more than enough on last week.
I think we should have like a moment's silence because Kingdom Hearts 3 is now finished on this podcast. We never need to talk about it again.
That's not true.
No.
I may or may not have the plat currently in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, you can say that, but yeah, we'll talk about it again. Okay, so yes, Kingdom Hearts 3. So
what? Well, no, because when the DLC comes out, we have to talk about it.
Oh, there will
Oh
be DLC.
yeah. You didn't think about that.
Well, that probably is predicated.
I mean, CJ doesn't want to talk about it. Clearly,
No, I do want to talk about it. Yeah, I definitely do. But I mean, we'll wait for the DLC and your platinum on that one. That's fine.
We'll wait for 50 more spin-offs to come out.
Yeah, that's probably true. We'll get some PS5 version, and then they'll put the PS4 put 3 DLC on PS4.
So what we'll do is we'll book Pelzio for 10 years time or so when that comes out, and that's perfect. And we'll go again. He's already questioned whether we'll be here in 10 years, so we'll book him and see what happens.
I meant the length of the last episode going 10 years. I didn't.
Oh, that's a real challenge. Yeah, so would you like to start with your first game that is not Kingdom Hearts 3, which is amazing, obviously?
Well, I did play Sekiro fairly recently, which I thought was actually a really, really enjoyable game. Like it's gonna be like my favorite by far out of like all the Soulsborne games. I just really like the combat because obviously, like I'm sure you two have heard about this, and a lot of people have. But if you go into that game and try to play like Dark Souls, you will fail because it plays a lot differently. But the combat was just the deflection system in it. I just found that so enjoyable, and I've never had so much fun playing a From Software game before. I absolutely loved it, and there was a really fun plat to go for as well. Some of the bosses were really iconic, and the music was amazing.
Can I just ask a little bit about this? I like that you assume we would know about this game. So you've played...
I'm sure you've seen some people play it.
Yeah, I mean, first-hand experience, perhaps. So you've played the other Dark Souls games before, obviously.
I think almost everyone knows about that game at this point.
I've played... I have never played 2. I've played Demon's Souls a bit. I've played Dark Souls 1 a bit, and I've played Dark Souls 3 a bit, but I've never played 2. And I've also I played a lot of Bloodborne, but I never got the plat in it. But out of all of them, I've never enjoyed 1 as much as Sekiro by any means.
Do you think it would be possible or practical to start with this one if you hadn't played the others, or?
Yeah, it's a completely different. It's a whole new IP. Obviously, like it's not like even in Dark Souls, I don't think it mattered just because there wasn't really a story. It was just like a bunch of like really hidden stuff, wasn't it? Like they did like their storytelling just by some really subtle kind of messages that they did, and there was like no real story to it. Like I think Sekiro is like the first one that really has a story to it. Like it's actually got like quite clear narrative to it, and all the other games are just like subtle storytelling. So it was very unique in that aspect. So if you prefer a story game and like hard bosses, then Sekiro is like going to be the best one.
And I mean, is it obviously difficult? Is it frustratingly difficult? Did you find or?
I didn't. Oh, it was difficult. It was like trying to learn all the bosses is like the most frustrating part. But once you've like learned them all, because I know like when I did the platinum, I had to go into New Game Plus and fight them all again. It was so much. It's just so easy once you know what to do. It's just the process of knowing how the bosses work, which is frustrating.
Well, is New Game Plus like virtually the same thing, or are you actually stronger and it's just easier in general? Or is it actually harder in general?
No, the enemies were buffed. Like, it was kind of weird how it scaled because basically how you increase attack in that is that you defeat like one of the sort of primary bosses, and they'll give you a memory which increases your attack by one. In New Game Plus, if you did that again, you could still increase your attack by doing that. But they did get buffed up in New Game Plus, so it scales in a way where you are getting more attack and the enemies are harder. But how it scaled is basically just like you're playing through the normal game again. Like it basically feels like it's the same game that you're playing through again. I don't know. It just seems really weird that they scaled it like that. So essentially, like New Game Plus is just like normal, even though it's not. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
The art style looks wonderfully dark in it as well.
I know the settings were amazing. Like I absolutely loved it.
Are we alternating? Unknown. What would you like to throw one out? Or
I thought I was directing this episode, but okay, yeah.
sorry, you are. Please.
The best thing I played
You're
this
always
year
in control. That's very clear.
is even highlighted in a greenish yellow tinge on my profile because they want it to stand out. You are in Drift.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, this game. I even feel like it should have been the title is messed up and it should have said you are Drift King. I think that would make more sense. Every time I want to say the name, I want to say that. But
It's worth the money.
this game was very quiet. It was there was some gas stations and some roads, and I did most of it not in a car because I had trouble driving the car, so I just ran the character around to the places I needed to.
So you ran around rather than drive the car. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's great.
You ran past like 50 school buses.
Yep. The car wasn't working for me.
It was a beautiful game.
I think your description went for longer than it takes to finish that game, actually.
He was the walk king.
Yeah, might as well just play it for yourself. And completion percentage on this. Oh, there's some times of 1 minute and 32 seconds.
Oh yeah, there was no reverse on it, was there? That's why you couldn't get the car out because you like ended up wedging it in a corner. You couldn't reverse it because the devs didn't know how to program a reverse button into the game.
That's exactly what happened.
It's just special.
How long does it take if you run? It must take longer.
It did take longer. It took probably like I don't know 10 minutes to run to location.
Hard mode.
15.
Maybe that'll give them an idea for the next release. There's just no car at all.
You are in sprint.
Yeah, that's right.
You are Usain Bolt.
We forgot to put the car in the garage this time. So.
Oh, they'll probably put some like generic, or they'll probably put some character in that's supposed to look like him, but like slightly different, and so they won't get sued. Actually, they'll probably just look exactly like him, but with really bad graphics. So they argue the fact that no, that's not you. We didn't pay you $1 million to put you in this game.
No, this is not a JPEG of your face posted onto our model.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I'm glad that a spam title somehow got into this episode.
Well, this one is it just had to be in there.
Of course, yeah. So you're leading the episode, remember? So what happens next?
Yep, your turn, CJ.
Good.
Go.
Excellent. Good. Just a little prompt there. So I don't know. The best game, well, for me would probably be near. I'm going to say Automata. I know there's no R in it, but I like to pronounce it that way. So why not? I don't know. I know you've played this Unknown, haven't you? Have you played this game, Pelzio?
Yeah, but I actually didn't play it on PS4 because I bought it on PC because I got a new graphics card, so I bought it just to like test it out and see just how good it looks. So I did play through it. Just it was one of those few games which I actually didn't get on the PS4 just for like unique reasons.
How did it look on PC? Like, I think graphically it was fine on PS4. It wasn't amazing or anything, is it?
Oh no, it was stunning on PC. Like,
It was
because
pretty good on PS4. What are
Oh,
you
it was
talking
good.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I imagine it was still good, but like, it was such a good game to test like a new graphics card on,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I'm never gonna like forget the first time I went into that. I was just like, whoa, I have never seen a game just look this beautiful before.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, it does look great. Yeah, I agree on the thing. So I mean, you both know then. So I don't need to say anything really more about the game, but I will because I really enjoyed it, and it's one of those games that I've had since it came out, and I've recommended to like quite a lot of people to play it, and I don't even played like an hour of it. I just kept putting it off for some reason. I'm not sure why, and so I finally played it in January. And I should have done it a lot longer ago. But it's an amazing game. There's so many games within that game. There's no other game that I've played that side scrolling, top down, arcadey.
Shmup.
Sorry, yeah, shoot 'em up. Yeah, it's just got everything, doesn't it? I mean, VN even. There's passages there with just text as well. So
Well, I mean, a lot of games have just text.
yeah, but I mean, like just scrolling on the screen, sort of thing. I mean, spoiler, or maybe not spoiler, but the ending, the choice you get to make at the ending as well, with the save file and stuff like that. It's very unique game. So I really enjoyed it. I love the characters as well.
It's also the first time I've ever seen auto fire in a game for a character.
Yeah.
You just run around and it automatically shoots and attacks enemies.
Yes. Yeah, which does make the game very easy.
It makes the game very boring too. Why put this in there?
Yes, yeah, but you don't have to do that. And I don't know. Unknown. I think you used the trophy shop. Is that right for the platinum?
I did at the end. I would have liked it if you had to do it like legit, but I just couldn't resist.
Yeah. I don't know, Pelzio. When did you say you finished the game, or like did you play through?
I did finish the game, but I didn't 100% it because I don't really care about achievements that much.
Yeah, no, of course. So you just did the main story. Did you sort of like when you finished the first time, you then go and play? In Unknown, you would have done this because you have to for the trophy shop. You still play the other two characters. Did you do that, or did you just play
No, I think I just did like one playthrough and got like whatever like the normal ending would be, I guess.
What did you think of that, Unknown?
Yeah, I mean,
like you would have had to play it a bit as 9S and 2A.
It's not exactly the same when you play it again. Like
No.
It's different.
Yes, yeah.
So it's like when you play it the second time, it's not like you're playing the same game with just a different character. Like the same things happen and everything. I mean, there's like some stuff is the same, but there's a decent amount of difference. And same when you play time too. Like it feels like a, I don't want to say a new game because it still has like the same gameplay, but it feels like a, I don't know, like a half a sequel or something.
That's right. It's definitely shorter. The other two, the 2A one.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the stuff you do and it's not exactly the same.
No,
it's like different quests and stuff.
No, yeah. Admittedly, I used the trophy shop as well. So I think I found the only detraction I found from it. I found the boss battles were very unique, were fantastic. The overall writing was good. I found some of the side quests. I did a handful of them, and I don't know. They're just fetch quests, and I don't think there was a lot. For a lot of them, there was a lot in that. So I think having the option to buy that trophy or whatever in that trophy shop was not such a bad thing, because I know that if you do some of them are very involved, like leveling up the weapons and stuff like that. I think it was a little bit sad that there was a Game of the Year edition that came out a month or two ago that didn't have a separate list. I know that's contentious for some people because you could just play the game again.
Game of the Year?
Yeah.
They didn't. Did they add DLC and stuff?
It was DLC that didn't. It wasn't trophy DLC though. Just DLC.
But what was it actually like? Story and stuff?
No, it's more arena.
I know it got DLC.
I believe there was some story content, but I think more sort of fighting or boss fighting in arenas and stuff. So, but unfortunately, that didn't have another list because I always entertained the idea of doing the game sort of maybe properly and not using the trophy shop the second time. But that won't happen. But yeah, I thought it was great. Like, again, the soppiness nature is definitely skewed in my favor on these things. But, I thought the characters were great. I associated much more with 9S, but then that's not unsurprising for me. I think I really like that downtrodden male, ruled by a female sort of analogy. I think that's fantastic. And he plays that, or the character plays that role fantastically. So if you haven't played it, I think it's great. I think it's a pretty easy JRPG, if that's sort of loosely what you would call it, to get into as well. There's no grinding levels or anything like that. it's all very natural. And it's probably only like, I want to say 15 or 16 hours if you use that trophy shop. Does that sound right, Unknown? It's not hugely long.
Yeah, maybe 20. It's been a while since I played.
Maybe 20, yeah. It's enjoyable time. So, if you're sitting on the fence, I would recommend doing that, yeah. Perfect. That's all I have to say about that one.
All right, we do another round? I think we're at
Please. Let's do one more round.
20 minutes. All right. So, between Area and Splatoon on Wheels. All right, let's talk about Area. The game is, it's Splatoon on Wheels. So this was like a top-down sort of looking dungeon crawly RPG. A lot of instruments where you leveled up your instruments, you leveled up your characters. I thought it was a good game. I just thought the grinding at the end that you had to do for the plat was like long, very long.
I also remember the music being very good in that game.
Yeah, the music was really good. I mean, it should be good. It's a music-based RPG.
Yeah.
If it had terrible music, that wouldn't be good.
It had some good trophy names in that game too.
Good trophy names?
If you're a musician, you'd like it. Yeah, I forget what the plat name was, but they're good.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. The problem, though, is I think the story and stuff was like, I don't know. I want to say like 8 hours or so for like one character. And then you had to level up all 4 characters. Maybe it was 10. It was not a very long game to finish the story. But I think total it took me like 25 hours to plat because I had to grind out music notes to buy skills or upgrade skills to level 3. So it took a while.
Was that just in like one area type grinding, or did you just like...
I mean, the one was more beneficial to do it in because it had a higher concentration of notes, but it was basically just going onto a snow mountain, running a set of aces, breaking it, running to another set of aces, breaking it, killing a few enemies. Oh, that's the other thing. It's very weird because the game is very unbalanced. Like, your attack will go up so fast, and you'll just be one-shotting enemies like crazy. They will do a lot of damage to you if they hit you, but it's just so weird because you're just like one-shotting everything very early on in the game.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? The short games, they just add something like that just to lengthen the game, but it's not interesting at all.
Yeah, that grind thing there. Yeah, I would recommend it. I just don't. The grind at the end is. I mean, it's not super long. It's not like 100 hours. It's probably like 8 to 10 of just grinding that final area. Anyways, Pelzio, what's another one of yours?
Oh man, well, I don't know if I should say this one because, like, I don't know, people are just going to judge me. But I really wanted to play this game for a long time, and I'm really glad I finally got around to it. Was Miracle Girls Festival on the Vita.
Oh, I like that game.
I wanted to play that game for so long because, well, I guess I'm like low key just a massive weeb, and I've watched I've watched every single series in that, like, it's a mashup of like a bunch of different anime series into like a rhythm game, and I think there's only like 2 in there which I hadn't watched. So I wanted to play it for such a long time, and it plays Unknown knows how it plays. Like, I don't know if CJ you've ever played Project Diva.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, it plays exactly like that, where you would if there's an arrow, you would just press like the corresponding button and do it that way. But it was just so much fun. I've always had like a guilty pleasure for rhythm games, and that one was just like one of the best ones I played on Vita.
Why would people judge you on this game? Sorry, I don't. Is there?
Because I'm a massive weeb. They'll judge me.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can allow that. That's all right. I'm just looking at this. So it's a Japanese game. Is it fairly easy to work out if your Japanese is not good? Like, can you just do menus and everything? It's straightforward, or?
Well, most rhythm games, it's mostly just hit the buttons correctly.
Yeah, well, like in like the menuing, it does actually list like Japanese and then English,
okay, wow.
like by it as well, despite it like only being in Japan. So like, it's not hard to get around the menus at all.
Yeah, I've never heard of this game. This looks really interesting. Yeah, I like these sort of games too. I mean, more for the rhythm part than whatever else, but yeah.
All right, CJ, what do you got?
The other one, I'm going to say, I think I'm going to go with this Unknown Fate, this is the game that I talked loosely about a couple of weeks ago, but said I didn't want to say much.
Because it has my name in it, that's why, right?
It's the same thing you said then too, yeah. Just rehashing material, excellent. It's always supposed to be both are. So I said I didn't want to play too much because I hadn't played more, and then I have played more, but I didn't want to say too much because the trophy list is still not live. And I I don't know what's going on because I reached out to the developers the other week and they know that it's not live either and they're trying with Sony, but I don't know what's going on. The game's been out for like 2 months now, so I don't know. Maybe are there games that just the lists never come for? Is that just what happens? Because
there was one. There's some that don't have lists.
But it's got trophies. I can see it when I'm offline.
Free to play ones, like Onigiri doesn't have one. I guess.
So I don't know. Maybe you can never earn you earn the trophies. You can see them. It just won't upload them. Or whatever else, so it's not on their servers. So that's gonna.
Well, if you can earn the trophies, then it has a list.
Yeah, but it's been like 2 months.
Ones that just purely didn't have trophies at all.
No, so go in with that sort of that if that concerns you, I don't know, maybe you'll get the trophies one day if they upload or not. But that aside or whatever else, as I said before, it's a walking simulator. I suppose that's the best way to describe it. It has light combat, but the combat is extremely light. It has some puzzles as well, like moving block type puzzle things, but again, that's really light. But the premise is is that without sort of going into it to spoil it in any way, it's sort of something's happened to you and you're in sort of, I suppose, like a dream state or maybe even like purgatory. You're in an in-between place or whatever else, and you can't remember what's happened to you. So you're going through these, puzzles or whatever else and moving through the landscape, and then you trigger memories as you go. So they're like these red orb things that, stand out from a mile away. So you go up to them and it triggers a scene. Some of the scenes are just cut scenes and other scenes you control the character as well. So it's all first person in these scenes. In the cut scenes, you're sort of, above third person or whatever, but it's extremely abstract. So there is definitely a narrative running throughout it, but I think there's a lot of liberties taken. And again, without spoiling it, when you get to the end, you sort of understand why. So I think this game definitely not for everybody, but if you liked I like to use the analogy with Hellblade, which, it was obviously a fantastic game and the story was very clear, but there was also a lot of narrative freedom in that game as well, and abstraction. And this is even more so along that line, obviously on a smaller budget. So yeah, it's a really good game. I know it's available. It's been available on PC for quite some time as well, a lot longer than console. So, if that's something that interests you, you could always play it there or whatever else. And I think it's quite reasonably priced as well. So, if you're just looking for something completely different and you don't necessarily care about the trophies, I would recommend you probably won't find something more different than that actually seems to have merit to play. I think so, yeah. I think that's about all I can say on that one, though.
All right. Should we wrap it up and put that other guide talk in?
Yeah, that would be perfect. So I'll just do a little intro because we're just going to loop this one straight in with that. As you remember, listeners, a few weeks ago we had the wonderful themindisacity join us, and we sort of blew out way long. So we ended up just keeping the first part of the episode. So now we'll drop in the second part of the episode, and we'll go straight to Mindy. And we start off with just asking her why she chose to write guides. So I hope you enjoy. So, just to start us off, and you can sort of lead us here in this discussion, I have to ask, why do you write guides?
When I started actually hunting trophies as opposed to just kind of, playing games, I'd be like, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? There were just some really good trophy guys out there. And so for a couple of years, honestly, into my, let's call it my trophy hunting career, I was just kind of a lurker. I used guides if I needed them, and then one day I used to actually my main specialty obviously is point and click adventures. That's what I do. One year they actually sent me to E3. I want to say whatever year it was the year that the Vita was announced and coming out. So whatever year that was. So I made a lot of kind of press contacts at E3. And as a result of that, I got a review copy of the new Sherlock Holmes adventure game like 2 weeks early. I played it. I love Sherlock Holmes. So I played it. I beat it, and I thought the people on this website have PlayStationTrophies.org. The guides have been helpful. I am in a position to give back. So that's what I did. I wrote up this trophy guide and I posted it the day the game came out. I didn't write a walkthrough for it. Those started coming later. I did write a trophy guide saying here's how you do this and here's how you do this and here's how you do this. And so there was a day one trophy guide for this game. And that's kind of where it started. Yeah.
So okay, we'll come back to that walkthrough topic a little bit later. But how do you sort of do you know a game's coming out and you sort of decided in advance you want to write a guide for it, or do you start the game and then think, wow, I should write a guide for this, or how does that come about?
Yeah, at this point it's kind of de facto. If it's a point and click, I'm going to write a guide for it. It's kind of what I'm known for. But otherwise it's I'll play something that I enjoyed and I notice there's no guide, so I'll bang one together and post it up, or it's one of the two. It's either I played this, there's no guide, I'll put it up, or oh hey, it's my jam, let's go ahead and write a guide for it.
And just in case you don't know, the Mindisacity, you've written like almost 100 guides. Is that correct? You were telling us before.
Yeah, I have. I did write. I will tell you, I wrote a guide on PlayStationTrophies.org for Castlevania Requiem that I was really proud of, and then someone came in and wrote a much better guide. And I actually am on the guide team on PlayStationTrophies.org, so I'm one of a group of people who look at guides and edit them and make sure they're not garbage and load them onto the main website. And so the second guide came around and I was so happy that this dude's guide was so much better than mine. I was like, dude, I'm on the guide team and I'm not even contesting this. Like, yours is so much better than mine. So happy to see this. Fantastic. So it would be, I think I'd be probably, if it wasn't for that, I think I would be just over 100 guides now.
Okay. Actually, I had a question about that. So when you start writing a guide, I mean, I know some of the forums, people post if they're working on a guide or whatever, but by and large, I think most of them, they don't post, or that seems to be my case. And the guide, obviously goes to the guide team and comes out. It's obviously happened. Does that happen often, or has that happened often where you've been working on a guide and then someone is sort of independently working on it at the same time, or to you, or is that not that common?
Not really. Again, the only thing I could think of is that Castlevania one, and it helps because I'm not writing like AAA game guides. I'm not writing, a guide for the new Call of Duty where maybe you would get 3 or 4 working on it. I'm writing point and clicks. I'm writing indie stuff. I'm writing obscure. Like I wrote a guide for the Nonary games, the Zero Escape. When they put 999 and Virtue's Last Reward, like I'm writing that. So it's just been a game of hedging my bets that no one else is going to do this, and except for Castlevania, no one else has.
Yes. Yeah, that's interesting. And so you coming back. Obviously, you're very well known for your point and click guides. A lot of these games have been on PC. They're ports across to us. Have you played them on PC before, or are you sort of the console's the first time you're coming across them?
Some of them. Deponia is a series that I played on PC when they were coming out. I think my biggest guide. My biggest point and click walkthrough was Day of the Tentacle, and that's probably because it was free on PlayStation Plus. That game, I've been playing that game since it came out in the 90s. I love that. It's one of my favorites. The day they announced the remaster, I started writing the walkthrough because I know that game like the back of my hand, and I just banged out a walkthrough. A lot.
That's great.
And it was literally a matter of I just need to fill in where the trophies are gonna. All I need is the trophy list, and I can just go in. I can tell you, you can have the most obscure description of the trophy ever for this game. I can tell you what it's supposed to be and where it's going to unlock.
Yeah. I mean, that must be a good feeling as well to know something that well, I suppose.
A little sad too, but yeah.
It's very honest.
Let's go mostly good feeling.
Yeah. We'll say positive. I noticed recently I read something that you wrote that I think it might have been the Deponia, maybe number 4 or the third one. You can correct me if I'm wrong here. And I think you'd actually written the guide the day or two before the game had released, or basically the guide was there the same day the game was on the system. So I assume that was a similar situation, was it? You were familiar with it? Or
yeah, well, like I said, the Deponia games were on PC for years, a couple of years before they made it to the PS4. So that was not difficult. I had already owned them, and when I saw that they were, because it helped too that Daedalic had a posted on Twitter. They said, "Hey, we're releasing Deponia 3 on this date. We are releasing Deponia 4 on this date, and then we're releasing the quadrilogy pack on this date." So I said, okay, I have 2 months to knock together 2 walkthroughs, and they'll both be day 1 releases. The only question is it all the same achievements, or did they remove some? The first one, there was an achievement that thank God they took out, called Droggle Jug, and the achievement was for playing the entire game in this made up language where the only word is Droggle Jug. So all of the dialogue was the word Droggle Jug. All of the, if you hovered the cursor over an item, it would just say Droggle Jug. I get it as a joke, but like, I'm glad they took the trophy out.
Yeah.
And for Deponia 4, by the way, update, I am happy to tell you that actually, I think it's the day you recorded with RD. I ended up talking to him for a bit. I explained to him how that graph worked, and he got his Deponia 4 platinum. He did the platypus trophy, and he got it.
Because he did seem a little bit put off by that one at the time.
And he said too, he's like, I don't get this, and I said, I totally understand why. It took me a bit to understand this chart. I will explain it to you. I was shocked that they did not remove that. It's a terrible achievement. The puzzle that is not well designed, and yet there is an achievement for collecting like 15 things in Deponia Doomsday, and they removed that for the PS4 port. So that's interesting.
No, it's fascinating. Unknown, I know you've written some guides as well. I'm thinking, I don't know if you want to elaborate here. I'm thinking about your root letter guide.
Oh yeah, that one was.
That's a long one.
Yeah, that was the longest. I think it was like my Word document. I don't have it now because I got a different computer and it was on the other one, but it was like 135 pages in Word or something like that. 150. I think it was.
And that game was in Japanese too, wasn't it?
It was like Japanese, Chinese. There was like 10 stacks of the thing. Then there was a new one.
But the guide you wrote off was in Japanese. Is that right? Like, you didn't play in English to write the guide, or
the first one was like Japanese. Then the second, then I did Japanese, or I did like 2 Japanese stacks. I don't remember the order.
Was it like 100 pages, just one language, or was it?
No, it was 100 pages. One
like you posted the equivalent in Chinese and Korean, or whatever all the stack languages are, and then it was 100 pages.
No, it was one language, 100 pages, 130, 50 or something.
How long did something like that take?
Way longer than it would have taken me to not do it and play the game. It took me like several days for like a 4-hour game.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I can't get my brain around that sort of something like that. That's fantastic.
I did a Duck Dynasty, my best guide ever.
What a game that is.
Everything else was everything else mostly pretty straightforward VMs, I think. Oh no, I did some Japanese number puzzle guides and things, but
I will say Duck Dynasty is one of the examples I use for when I have to tell myself I'm not a full-blown trophy whore. It's like, because I haven't played Duck Dynasty and I haven't played Hannah Montana.
You're missing out.
Did you play BB and Tina though? That one's a gem.
I have not played BB and Tina.
You got all the best games waiting for you.
I have not.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
Maybe
Mindy,
someday.
what? That's right. It's never ending. What's the hardest game you've written a guide for, or the hardest, game to guide? I suppose is the way to say that.
Oh, that's a good question. The council took, I think, probably more work. I won't say it's the one I had to put the most work into, but it and probably because it was a little more out of my wheelhouse, it took,
Mhm.
and I used to the structure. Like it's fairly, especially because I write all these Artifacts Mundi guides. It's the same structure, because they're all the same trophies. So once I had that Artifacts, my first Artifacts Mundi guide, I've got the bare bones for all subsequent Artifacts Mundi guides, and all I got to do is change
Mm-hmm.
some location names around, or delete something that doesn't apply. Those don't take very long. The council was more of an involved game, so I kind of had strategies written out, but I also knew it was a game that I couldn't write a walkthrough, like a step-by-step walkthrough for, because it would be way too long, and no one's gonna read that, because my walkthroughs are all text-based. No one, someone might follow a 12-hour video guide, probably not. No one is gonna follow a 600 page, not 600, but a 200-page text walkthrough for this game. No one is. I don't want to write it, and no one's gonna read it.
When did you start? When did you start incorporating walkthroughs? Because I think that's like, at least that's usually what I go straight for.
Yeah. Sorry, finishing up my thought, or I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, sorry.
But at the same time, just having there's like half of a walkthrough in the council guide, because if I were to just say point by point, or if I were to just say here's what you need to do to unlock the trophy, first of all, it's a terrible trophy guide because of all these diverging paths in that game. So I had to say, I had to figure a dialogue route that no matter your level in the game, like your skill level in various attributes, like manipulation and politics and things like that, you could get through the game. You know what I mean? So that took more time, I think. But sorry, you were asking when I started walkthroughs. Like step-by-step walkthroughs.
Yeah.
That was, I'm actually kind of looking to see what my first. Oh, it was my first step-by-step walkthrough was Adventure Time Finn and Jake Investigations.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was, and I didn't know I wanted to do it until like the last case of that game. So I ended up playing that game twice. Well, I've played it 3 times now because I've stacked the platinum, but I played the same version twice because I looked at the I can't remember exactly why I did it. I looked at the trophy guide and it wasn't bad, but it didn't tell you how to get through some stuff that would take you to the point of the trophy, that I thought people who did not play point and clicks would know, or would necessarily make that kind of connection. Like I grew up playing these games. I grew up playing Mega Man, Castlevania. Yeah, but a lot of what I played was on our old computer, and it was all point and click. So I was playing these these King's Quest games, and I was playing, if it had a quest at the name, I was probably playing it. So it kind of trains your mind to think in a different way. So whereas a lot of people, I think, would look at, I'm going to use a cliched thing that we've all seen from movies, but whereas a lot of people would look at a bed and say, okay, that's a bed, I'll search under it. If you play a lot of point and clicks, you'll look at a bed and say, okay, can I remove this bed sheet and fashion a rope out of it? You know what I mean?
Can I ask a question along this line? So, I mean, we're obviously of a similar age because I remember the King's Quest games well and the Sierra games. Do you think that sort of lateral thinking, because those games did have a lot of lateral, thinking, I think, and I think they required a little bit, more brain power perhaps than some of these things now. Do you think that the games coming out now, like they're obviously, I don't want to say they've been dumbed down, but do you think we've lost that sort of that type of thinking, that inquisitive sort of, you know, I don't know. Do you sort of see what I'm trying to say here?
I do. I think it's a give and take here. What you need to remember about the King's Quest games is because of the low processing power of the time and graphics limitations and such. If you know what you're doing in the early King's Quest games, you knock them out in 20 minutes. They were at least as far as I know, they were designed to be 6 planes above lateral thinking. They didn't always make sense. People who enjoy those games will often say that Roberta Williams, the creator, had moon logic, and where it's just kind of like the question was not what is the game thinking, it's what is the designer thinking, which are two very different questions. So some things would not make sense. So my favorite example of this, and I think it's the most infamous, is in King's Quest. King's Quest 4, 2. I can't remember. One of the early ones. King's Quest, for people who don't know, is all about kind of fairy tales and fantasy land. And you come across this being who's obviously Rumpelstiltskin. He is very obviously Rumpelstiltskin. And he says, I'll give you 3 chances to guess my name.
Mm-hmm.
And so you say, okay, I have a passing knowledge of fairy tales. This is Rumpelstiltskin. And it's wrong. So say, okay, I'll come back and guess. And if you explore a little bit, you'll find a note that says, sometimes you have to think backwards, right? And so you'd think, oh, his name is Rumpelstiltskin, but his name is Rumpelstiltskin spelled backwards, right? Which makes sense. That is lateral thinking. That is logical.
Mm-hmm.
It's where I think a lot of the current games, and rightfully so, will stop with that puzzle, right?
Do you think there's a lot tied up in the fact that back when I remember that it's great for you to talk about that. It's very.
But here's the moon. No, here's the moon logic. This is the crazy thing, is you go to Rumpelstiltskin and say, okay, your name is Rumpelstiltskin backwards. You are still wrong. What it actually means, and there is nothing to bring you to this final plane of deduction, is you are spelling Rumpelstiltskin's name in a backwards alphabet. So A is actually Z, and B is actually Y, and C is actually X.
Yes.
That's the moon logic. There is no distinct path that you can follow between think backwards and, oh, you actually want a backwards alphabet. You know what I mean?
Did it actually spell out a word?
No, it's complete garbage.
Like a word? Okay.
And so many people got angry and wrote into Sierra that when this was actually, I want to say this is King's Quest 2, because it was a game that was re-released, and they didn't re-release many of them. They changed the code so that it would accept Rumpelstiltskin backwards as a correct answer for that puzzle. So that kind of skirted, but also kind of answered your question. I think some things, I think companies like Artifex Mundi, because the point and click genre is now more about hidden adventure games as opposed to what I would call a traditional point and click, which would be like a verb bank, like the Deponia games I would call more of a traditional point and click. But because the market was so populated by like Big Fish games, which is more PC, and Artifex Mundi, and they kind of they have a formula and they stick with it, and that's all that was on the market for a really long time. I think that's just kind of the norm now.
Yeah, I find this fascinating.
So I wouldn't call it distinctly a lack of a loss of lateral thinking, more like it has not been offered to see if it's something we can still do.
Do you think then, I mean, and this is what interests me hugely here, is that obviously back with these games in the King's Quest time, the answer wasn't as simple as just turning the internet on and looking it up, because you just didn't have the internet, or I mean, we didn't have the internet, definitely when I was playing these games. So you were stuck. You were definitely stuck until, another kid told you how to progress, or you happened to get it in a magazine or something. So in Australia, being removed from the US, you were really stuck until one of these things happened. So, it did encourage you. I remember, reading books or, looking up like alchemy charts and sign things for different games and all this sort of stuff that, you wouldn't do now, or I wouldn't probably do now. And,
you were stuck, but Sierra also sold hint books.
They did. That's true.
That was still a thing even back then. They weren't like proper strategy guides. You couldn't walk into a retail store and buy them. You had to write to Sierra, and I really loved these actually. They were these little books, and they had a red filter, like the text was covered in some kind of gobbledygook, and you had this red film and hold it over the text so you could actually read what was behind it. So you couldn't just open the book and read the answers, right? But what I loved about these two is that they peppered in fake questions and fake answers to discourage you from just sitting down and reading the book to figure out how to do everything. That was pretty fun. But no, you're right. They were very difficult. Like I said, there was some moon logic there, and that I believe was a deliberate design to see, we need people to stick with this because we have by necessity, we have a very short game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd never considered that. That's a very good point. So now, that's
there's no official statement for that as far as I know. That's just my theory. I like the theory.
Makes sense.
So that's what I'm sticking with until new evidence is presented.
So taking on, so you've now incorporated these trophy walkthroughs into guides. Do you like? I mean, you don't need to elaborate on this if you don't want to, but you're a very educated person. It's obvious from the way you speak as well, and of course.
Unknown, you're still alive, by the way.
Respect.
I am still here. Yes,
we're taking over.
Good. Yeah, sorry, Adnan. Sorry, I'll be brief and on point. So with these trophy walkthroughs, they're basically step for step what you should do, and I mean it's quite possible to follow them and have no real concept of what's going on in the game because you're just rote following. Do you feel like you're dumbing down these games by doing? Like, do you feel morally yourself by providing these sort of things that it is just? Do you concede that a lot of people probably have no idea what's going on in the game when they use these? They're just rote following.
That's a good question. I think I do say in my own defense, for games like Day of the Tentacle and Deponia, like these games that I really think are smart and genuinely funny, I do say if you follow this walkthrough, you are missing a lot. Like you are missing a lot of jokes. A lot of good stuff. Really, you can't screw this up. Explore the world, interact with it. Excuse me, and you'll have a lot of fun. But I do think I have a realistic approach and say the majority of people who are going to play these are trophy hunters. They're just in it for the quick and easy platinum. I shouldn't say the majority. A good amount of people are in it for the trophies. And those who are not, I don't think are going to immediately look up a walkthrough to see how to get through it. I think they're going to try, and then if they get stuck, then they're going to look up a walkthrough.
No, of course, yeah. And I mean, people will do whatever. It just it intrigues me. I mean, to do these sort of games with a walkthrough can be a couple of hours, but I mean, doing them without would take considerably more hours, I imagine. And I think it just goes to the point you say is that the more you do them yourself, obviously you start to see the patterns in the games, like you're talking about the Art Mundi games and such. But I suppose from a perspective, and I'll be fully honest, because my time is limited, most of the time I use the walkthrough as well. Some games I don't, but they're games usually that I don't bother. I know that I won't plat, so it doesn't concern me if I miss stuff or I do stuff in a roundabout sort of a way. So I have no problem with people doing that, but I just wonder if, I wonder what the game companies that are making these things think. Do you think like that? Do you think it affects the way they're making these point and click games into the future if they know that people are going to follow, have the answers sort of given to them? Do you think that affects?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know specifically about point and clicks. I do know that again, I mentioned Big Fish, which is basically Artifacts Mundi, but their PC market.
Mm.
They published walkthroughs on their own site. A
Mm.
lot of times they were written by kind of community members who just liked the game. Sometimes they were written by the company themselves. No like achievements or anything in those games. So obviously it wasn't like, and do this and you'll unlock it was just, here's how you get through
Mm.
the game, here are pictures, stuff like that. What I
Mm.
find interesting is on PSNP, what is it, Ratatouille.
Yeah, we can't. No one knows how to pronounce that.
They have started publishing their own trophy guides
That's right.
for these games, or they did for a little while, and
Yes.
I as soon as you asked me that, that's immediately what I thought of. I don't think there's a huge impact.
Yeah.
I think they're going to look at it and say, oh, this is working. These people are not complaining. I wrote this because it's difficult. They'll say, oh, people are doing video reviews for the subscription or the hits or whatever. People writing walkthroughs to streamline the game or to get people through it. That could just mean more sales for us. More people will see our game, whatever.
So how do you feel? I find this, to ask someone like you, I find this very interesting. How do you feel about games like The Witness then? Now, so I don't know if you're familiar with this game. So you can play 99% or 95% of this game with a guide, a walkthrough guide, and you get to the final puzzle and it's random. And it's random in such a way that it's also time. I know there are a few workarounds perhaps, but ultimately it is random. And there's no way you're going to be able to solve that puzzle unless you understood what you were doing at each step through the game. So if you were just, following the guide and moving through, you potentially don't understand what you're really doing or how it's developing. There is no way you'll finish that final puzzle. So what do you think about that? Do you like that sort of thing in a game?
I haven't played The Witness. It's been on my list forever. I was waiting for a good because it's like $40.
Was it free or is it?
And I'm
Well, we
not.
got it free last month or this month.
I know, and I'm excited to play it eventually. But
yes,
eventually, it never went on sale. So I'm not familiar with it. I understand what
that
you're saying,
concept.
but I also
How do you feel?
I can't think of something that is comparable. The only thing I can think of is, there are some adventure games where you can figure out the puzzle, which is generally not randomized if you've been paying attention to the story. But in terms of my walkthroughs, I just tell you what to say. Like, you might not understand why you're doing it or why you're saying it, but I did when I was playing, and was the correct answer, so I'm telling you that's what you need to do.
I'm not by no means having a shot at you here for writing guides. I mean more as a personal thing. Do you like that idea that yes, you might use?
Oh no, I didn't think you were attacking me at all. I cannot think of anything that comparable where it is. I can think of things where it is, if you paid attention during the game, you can solve the final puzzles because you've just done this. Randomized, I can't think of something else that's done that.
No, I'm not familiar with anything else like that. But yeah, I think it's an interesting trend, perhaps, if it does go. I mean, it's really the only way to guarantee that, you have to figure it out yourself, I suppose, the ending. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that will not lead to sales, though. I know that game had a bit of hatred because of that.
I think putting a time limit on an adventure game is a jerk move, though. Yeah, I do.
Well, they had a time limit. Wasn't there one that you might have talked about this? Sorry, I just briefly lost power, but they had like time limits. Can't remember the name. It was like super hard to do with even with a guide.
I'm not sure.
So what I'm thinking of, and it's only because I wrote a guide for it, is there's this game called Subject 13 that was a puzzle adventure game, and the well, maybe I do have an answer for you. The final puzzle was
I think you did write it.
Minesweeper. I'm terrible at Minesweeper. but it's like 3D Minesweeper, and it is timed, or at least the trophy for it is timed. And it is random. I think it's timed in the game, but there's a trophy, you have to do it in a lot less time. You know what I mean? And that annoyed me quite a bit.
Could imagine.
Yeah.
I actually had to call in reinforcements on that one and get a friend who was better at
Yes.
Minesweeper. And I was like, here, do this, please.
Well, I think that's the attraction of these sort of games, though. Like, and it sort of underpins all of them. Is a lot of it sort of predicates on your sort of own background and knowledge. Like, I mean, if a game has a lot of it requires some understanding of, say, music or architecture or mathematics or whatever. It really is going to depend on your background. If you can see shapes and in your head or whatever else, these sort of things. So I think one person's hard thing, is another person's, it's easy for them, isn't it? So I think the balance is always interesting there. So I noticed we've sort of dabbled in the video guide section. So what's your opinion on video versus text guides? Do they mutually coexist? Is it a happy world for everybody?
First of all, I want to make sure you're still alive, but I do want to hear both of your opinions on this too. It's different strokes for different folks. Some people, I think the most common thing I hear is, I like your text guides because I can do this at my own pace. I don't have to watch a video, pause it, do it in my game, watch more of the video, pause it, do it in my game. I can just look over, see what I need to do it, look up, somehow that takes less time, and it probably does. Some people say, I was just trying to play it on my own, but I needed a little help with your guide. I could text search for like a section that I was in and go to it. I didn't have to flip through a 2-hour video to get to where I am and watch what they're doing. So that's pretty cool. There are some things I wrote text guides for that I think would probably translate a bit better to video guides. Like I wrote, and this is another one that's gotten a lot of stuff. It's the same problem of watching the video, pausing it, doing it in your own game, etc. But was Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. I did not write a trophy guide for it. What I did was the trophy guide that was out there that was most commonly used is good. It tells you how to get all the trophies. The problem I had with it, and I think a lot of people had with it, was if you wanted to do everything in one go, and if you've played this game, you know how slow you walk in it, so you want to do everything in one go. You had to have 5 or 6 different videos open to make sure you were getting all of the collectibles and all of the radios and the dialogue, or the little dialogue scenes or whatever they were. And so I said, this is whenever it was free on Plus, I was probably 20 minutes into the game, and I was like, and I started writing out this walkthrough. And because it's not like a point and click, it was very difficult to write direct, and because there's no good landmarks in that game, so it was very difficult to write directions to make sure everyone would be on the same path, right? So that's probably one that would be better as a video, but I don't regret writing it at all. I've had just as many people tell me it's been helpful. So it really, I think it is a personal preference.
Do you, I mean, again, this is only from what I see, so I'm not sure you'd have a better understanding of this. Do you think, it seems like a lot of these games, the text guide comes before the video guide? So, I mean, you could say the video guide was possibly written from the text guide. Do you feel that same way? Or video guide was created, I should say, from the text guide.
It's possible. I know for a fact that some people have used my walkthroughs in their video guide and made a video just of that and put it up. Generally, these people have acknowledged and properly credited me, said, this was done by themindisacity. They have linked my walkthrough. I am fine with that. I have always been fine with that. I don't have the patience to make video guides. So, because once I write something, once it's done, it's done. If to do a video guide, you got to
Yes.
play it, you got to edit it, you got to up. I don't have the patience for it. I sound so old right now.
No. Look, I understand the editing is not. It's not everyone. It's not as great as it's cracked up to be. Yeah.
Right. So generally
Yeah.
it's fine. If I'm properly credited, that's fine. Where we get into problems is when there are some of my guides that things are listed in order because they need to be in that order. And then some things are listed in order just because that's the way I did it. And it's when you get to I see a video guide and it is not credited to me and it's the exact order of everything. Once or twice, that's a coincidence. If it's literally every single thing that I would look at and say, I did it in this order just because that's the way I did it, and it's all the same, then I'm going to start looking at what else these people are doing. And I'm not, this sounds like I'm like litigious. I'm not. If these people were making, hundreds of thousands of dollars off of Patreon or something, then we might sit down and have a talk.
Yes.
I guess it just bothers me that in general, plagiarism in general bothers me.
I think this is a different topic, but just to proceed a little bit down this line, but not too far if we can. I think a lot of and maybe again you agree or disagree, a lot of the video creators or whatever else seem to be very clued up on social media and very clued up on follows, and they're definitely trying to self-promote themselves, and maybe they aren't making hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I think there is some sort of a goal in mind of some sort of monetization or some sort of fame or kudos or whatever from doing this. I think maybe the text guide writers, they don't seem to have the same, I don't know, they don't seem to have the same desire almost. Would you like they're creating a guide for other people?
Well, I mean, most of the text guides I've seen, most video guides, a lot of them will have some link, support me by go to this link and whatever, donate to me. Usually, like, I don't see that. I'm not not just like point clicks. I'm like in general. There's a few places, but not too many.
Sorry, I was just going to say I'm not trying to I have no problem with them doing that. I just think that predominantly a lot of the video guide writers are younger, or creators. I'm not sure the correct word. The creators, sorry, are younger than us, and I also think it just harkens back to your plagiarism. So I'll get your thoughts on that as well. But I think plagiarism is not a big issue for the younger people. It sounds really old, but I think this freedom of information flowing, they don't necessarily understand the importance of acknowledging people's creative work. I think for us, that's a much bigger thing.
Didn't go to college yet where the professors drill it down your
exactly
skulls.
We're
going to kick you out.
Do you think there's something to that, Mindy, that it could be an age thing?
Yes and no. I think when you're a bit younger, I think maybe your definition of plagiarism is literally cut and paste. If someone took one of my walkthroughs, literally cut and paste it and pass it off as their own, well, that's plagiarism. But if I make a video of this, well, that's my own work. Because I made the video. I did the effort of filming and editing, and that's mine. And I think you get to a point where you realize, oh, I'm actually ripping someone off when I do this. I don't know if it's an age thing or just kind of a mental shift or something. So I wouldn't necessarily blame it on age.
I was gonna say, I'm thinking if you're making a YouTube channel and stuff, if you have a channel and you're making videos, you can't be like 5 years old. I mean, you're probably at least like what?
Early 20s, perhaps. I was sort of meaning not 5 years
I mean, at that point, I think you would know. I would assume.
Yeah.
But I mean, you would be surprised.
Yeah.
But and just in a general sense, no one's gonna pay for a walkthrough. Like I hate to say it, but there is this what's it called? There's this perception that visual media is somehow more what's the word I want? It's somehow more not valued or laborious than written media. I don't know if you guys have ever been in like a fandom, Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever, like an active fandom. And you'll see if you go on like, Tumblr or one of the other blog sites, you'll see people who are like fan artists who draw, whatever. They'll have commissions, and if you pay me $20, I'll draw a character. If you pay me $30, I'll draw 2 characters, whatever, right? And people will do that, and that's fine. But it's very rare that you'll see someone who writes like fan fiction who says, if you pay me $10, I'll write 3,000 words. If that doesn't mean they don't spend just as much time crafting their own art. It's just for some reason there's this viewpoint that it takes, and sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't take more effort to make a video than to write a walkthrough or write a trophy guide or even just put together a picture guide. You know what I mean?
I think if all you're doing is playing or having your walkthrough on your laptop while you play through the screen and record yourself playing, I think that's like very minimal because you're doing it anyway. I've seen guys like that where it's just like, yeah, they don't know even what they're doing. Or they'll just stop for like 10 minutes, try to figure out what the heck they need to do.
So they're following I see what you're saying, yeah. Following the text. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think we're probably on a similar page with plagiarism. I think it's a massive. It's often described as a victimless crime, but I totally disagree. And I think it's only ignorance and naivety that ever claims that. But it is theft of someone's idea. And what's more important is it's theft of someone's intellectual idea. In that I understand what you're saying by it takes effort to create something like a video thing, but you're talking about a process. Actually, doing the research to understand how something works and then implementing it. That's the idea that's being stolen in plagiarism. It's not necessarily the words you choose to write, it's the ideas and the thought and everything that went in behind it, and that isn't always credible by everybody. I think there's certain people that can do that and not. So yeah, I don't know. I think perhaps I think we're being very nice, but I think a lot of these video, not all video guides obviously, but the ones you're implying here, Unknown, it is more of an issue than.
That's right, Unknown. You're doing some video guides, right?
I was, but then I did like a couple, but it seems
you did one of mine, right? You did the Aloha one.
Yeah, that one. I didn't do a very good job of it though. I was trying to make it like exciting. I need to make it more exciting. I think is a problem.
It's not exciting.
Yeah, but I was trying to make it so it wasn't like a monotonous tone. I was trying to explain things, but I don't know. I feel like almost no one would used it anyway. First, it wasn't like I spread the word out in a bunch of places, but yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If I have the text guide and I'm making a video guide from it, even if I'm like trying to explain things, it's really not that much work on my end. Like I'm like almost none if I can do it in one shot. Otherwise, I have to like cut out a part.
To premise against all this, I think if all you do is, as Mindy said, is just at the end of the video guide, if you just acknowledge the sources, I think that removes all this sort of a problem. I don't think there's any issue then. Unless they've chosen to copyright their work or something in some way. But if it's open access, then if they're acknowledged, and I'm sure it sounds like you both agree with that. So maybe we'll
that's generally my thing is acknowledgement in the video, not in the description.
Description? Yeah, because I think almost no one reads that.
No one reads it. But in the video, at the front of in your title card, what the hell ever. Just throw my name on there, link my guide in the description, my walkthrough in the description, and I'm golden. That's all I want.
Would you ever consider, like, I don't know,
unless you're making hundreds of $1,000s on a patron, and then we're going to talk.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Would you ever consider collaborating with a video creator? So just one person. I know there are a few people, but there's not too many now that are producing these sort of things regularly. Would you ever consider just picking one and just working with them to sort of avoid this?
Sure, I would.
Yeah.
I have reached out to two in the past. One of them I was working with for a little while. I got a couple of codes from this person because they were big enough that they were getting advanced codes. But then they stopped doing videos, so that stopped. And the other one was not interested. The other one had done a couple of my guides, but was not interested in collaboration. I said, fair enough. I'm always open to talking. No harm really comes from that.
Yeah, well, I think today that's definitely shown that. So if you are listening to that, feel free to contact Mindy. Just heading back towards getting into guide writing. So you said you're on the guide team. Would you have any tips for someone who is thinking about writing their first guide on whatever game it might be? How to start or how to get into it?
Don't be scared. I think a lot of people say, well, I'm not a good writer, blah blah. It's just like anything. It's practice, man. Like, yeah, some people are going to be better at it from the get-go than others, but practice.
Mm-hmm.
Also, and I'm sure I don't speak for imports. I don't speak for PSNP. I think those are the other two big guide sites. Because I'm on .org. I'm on PlayStationTrophies.org. I have posted some of my stuff to imports. I think I have one guide over on PSNP. I cannot speak for how, because I think they both have guide teams, or at least someone who oversees that. I don't speak for them, but at least on PlayStationTrophies.org, there is a group of people who I say job, we're not paid for it, but like their role is to look at trophy guides and say, okay, the writing needs to be cleaned. They're editors. The writing needs to be cleaned up, or this part isn't clear. And either if it's minor stuff like grammar, they just go ahead and change it. Misspellings, they change it. If it's like this isn't clear, this doesn't make sense, then that's when they message the people and say, hey, could you expand on this? Or I don't understand what you mean here. And actually work with the people. And I think that's great because again, it's practice and it's learning. My other big thing is to either straight up have your laptop out when you're playing or take notes. I think the most intimidating thing is to play a game, get the platinum, and then sit down and try to start writing the guide, because all of a sudden you're under this pressure of, oh, when was this part, or was this part hard, or was there a strategy for this part, or did I forget a collectible here? Whereas if you took notes, or like for me, some of these, especially like Art of X-Mundis games, I just type out the trophy guide while I'm playing the game, because I again, the lists are very similar, so I just have a running check of all the collectibles. Plus the bonus to that is when you finish the game, you look over and go, well, damn, my trophy guide is done. Like like all I need to do is write out the order that these trophies are going to unlock, and I can post it online.
Guide's done.
I mean, that makes perfect sense, really, doesn't it?
Third, and a little trickier because it gets into the realm of plagiarism, but I don't think it's plagiarism. If you want to write for like Call of Duty, right? And you've never written a guide before, go look up another Call of Duty guide and don't copy it, but kind of look at what they've done, see how they've set up their guide, and say, does it make sense for me to do it this way? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like doing your homework.
Yeah,
doing a bit of
use
research.
it as a guideline.
That makes sense.
If there's a JRPG out, and it's a brand new property, right? And you don't know how to, look at other JRPG guides. Does the way this is laid out make sense? What are they focusing? It's a JRPG. Are they focusing on boss strategies? Are they focusing on party configuration? Are they focusing, what are they focusing on? And does it make sense to do the same for what I want to do? So those are my big ones, I think.
Yeah, perfect. And just the last point I wanted to ask, this is another selfish point, so please indulge me. Do you feel that guides should, obviously trophy walkthroughs follow this path, but do you think guides should give you the absolute A line to completing the game, like the path of minimal resistance, the quickest possible path? Do you think that should be a guide's aim when you're writing?
Case by case basis, man. It sounds like a cop out, but that's how I tend to write mine, because I am catering my guide to trophy hunters. If I were to take like my Day of the Tentacle guide and say I wanted to expand it to give people the maximum enjoyment they could get out of the game, it would not be an A line. It would be, talk to this person, here's 20 minutes of stuff you don't actually have to do, but it's funny.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no, of course.
My walkthroughs are written for trophy hunters, so they are streamlined. Here, here is A to B to Z.
Yes.
That gets you where you need to go.
Look, this is it's a fascinating topic. Well, it's fascinating to me. I hope Unknown, he's still awake. He's still with us. And it's just.
Killed him. I'm sorry, Unknown. I tried.
No, I'm still here.
I didn't try very hard, but I did try.
Yeah. Well, no, I think. I mean, I'm going to speak for us both because, well, why not? But it's refreshing to hear someone who's passionate talk about something, and you're clearly passionate about this, and I mean, you clearly have a lot of insight with the number of guides you've written. So I do thank you for sharing that with us, and I'm sure we're going to have to book you again at some point down the track, because I think there's so many issues we've just touched on today or whatever else. It would be almost great to to delve further into this with you if you're free again into the future. Maybe we'll just sort of cap it there. Is there anything else you want to say on guides? It seemed very comprehensive.
I think people are tired of listening to me.
No, not at all. Yeah. So we shall we move over?
Actually, I did have a question for you.
Please.
You wrote a guide for Meow Motors.
I don't think I'm in the same category as either.
I want to hear about
guide writing. So, well, the only thing I'll say is I agree with that point you said about writing the guide as you play. My memory is, it's not fantastic, so I find it much easier. The game was only 3 hours anyway, but having the computer right beside you and just writing as you play. I think I did that for that one, and also for the Senran Kagura one. I did much the same way as well. So I think that's a great tip. And to be honest, my guides, they're written to amuse myself, I think, and to play with language sometimes, and also to see how much I can get away with, and how much they're prepared to put on their site.
Much wrong information you can stick in there and get away with it.
No, not wrong. No. How close to the line I can skirt with some of the language choices and euphemisms I use, I think. So, I'm sure there are many sites that wouldn't allow it to go in that form. But I know I'm not misleading people, although that does potentially interest me down the track. But to try, perhaps
you would like. There's a guy on PlayStationTrophy.org and PSNP who writes guides, and his goal is to see how many puns he can throw into the guide.
Yeah, I love that sort of thing.
I've seen that. I've seen one of them like that, but I can't remember what it was for.
It was one of the insult simulator games.
Yes, that's great.
Oh, there was another one too.
It's fitting for that.
And I think it actually got taken down because people were complaining. It might have been on PSNP. It was every line was some. It might have been. No, it was Barbie Puppy Rescue.
Oh God!
It was every.
It was over the line.
every other sentence was some dog pun or something.
Yeah.
I like puns, so I can appreciate it. Your mileage may vary. I like smart puns though.
So thank you for joining us again for episode number 8 of Push to Plat. I'd like to thank The Mind is a City for being with us, talking with us over a huge amount of time, but I found it fascinating. I'm sure Unknown did as well. And I hope you took something from her guide talk. If you want to reach out to The Mind is a City, she is on Twitter at The Mind is a City handle. You can also find her around various guiding sites as well. She's a lovely person. And if you do have any questions or anything else, I'm sure she'd be more than happy to help you out. I'd like to thank Pelzio as well for a bit of a marathon effort today across 2 episodes. Thank you so much for giving your time to us today, sir.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, of course. And long-suffering co-host Unknown, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, CJ.
Excellent. Thank you. And if we're trying to find you, Pelzio, where can we find you?
Just find me at twitter.com/Pelzio or twitch.tv/Pelzio.
Excellent. And Unknown, where can we find you?
Twitch TV or twitch.tv/Mr. Unknown65 and Twitter, Mr. Unknown65.
Excellent. And if you're looking for us, we're available on iTunes Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Stitcher Radio. So until next week, happy trophy hunting, happy name hunting. If you do decide to take the plunge, if you do, please let us know what you go with. I would be fascinated if nothing else. And until next week, have fun. See ya.
All right, see ya, everybody.